Plant A, Huntsman's phosgene plant, is triple encapsulated. If that were to rupture, from here to Pearland, everybody's dead. Think I'll feel better. My wife was in over, and then she toured it, and she was like, "What's in there? That's phosgene. That's triple encapsulated." I said, "Yeah, it'll kill everybody from here to Pearland."
I thought it was
Okay, I don't want to work with prevailing winds from the north. Days it's from the south, I'm out.
Yeah.
I've been in an ammonia leak before, that's pretty rough. That'll choke you up quick.
That one is not reliable because Cliff does not. I mean, it's right now, but wait until we fall back and we'll be wrong for like half a
Use
year.
your phone. That'll be the most
I've
accurate.
ever smelled. She's looking out her living room window and she
No,
sees
it's
the
not.
fog in the valley.
It was a digital one. and it
Crystal
would-
clear blue day.
It would just
man.
go
She
crazy
sees it
every
coming
moment. It would
across
just be
the
the
valley.
rain.
She goes, oh shit. Throws the phone down and starts running. Jumps.
This is trying to open outward.
She's hitting the pool.
Oh, I knew you'd
Flame
answer.
goes over the top
I
of
said,
her
hey,
head.
money bags. I knew you'd answer.
HPD.
I'd walk to them, give you a
Wrong person was
backache.
driving.
Wrong person. Oh, you somebody over there?
Investigate.
Sorry for getting in the way.
Right
No, I was
into
looking at that wallet, I was like, man.
That's IOUs
it.
in
Right
there.
there. And they said there was,
Yeah, you can go ahead.
We call it an Army pink mist. Yeah, pink
yeah,
mist.
Time is now 6 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order. Okay, we've got invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege of meeting here to serve the city. Please be with us throughout this meeting, guiding our way through the decisions that we pray will be to the benefit of this community and its residents. Please be with our leaders, our first responders, and our citizenry. Keep us protected by your everlasting, ever-present love and grace. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
It appears that every council member is present, so we're good to go for our meeting. Did we have any public comments today? Oh, okay. Sorry that there are no public comments at this time. Let's get to the consent agenda. Approval of minutes for June 19th, 2023. Approval of minutes for a special meeting held on June 23rd, 2023.
Yes, I sent out an email earlier today with the consent.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the changes that Kirsten sent out.
A second. All in favor?
Hi.
Motion carries. Okay, discussion and action items. Discuss and consider awarding construction contract 1-2023/ARPA South Water Plant improvements to the lowest qualified bidder, Matula and Matula, Inc.
So council, good evening. We hosted the bid opening for this particular portion of the project. We received two bids. One from WW Payton in the amount of $525,000, one from Matula Incorporated for $593,000. As of this time, the lowest bidder is not qualified. Let's say active, not qualified through SAM. SAM is the government's official website for tracking contractors' progress through grant projects, things of this sort. And they're registered.
It's a registry.
They're not registered, but active. But their account shows a deficiency. And that is part of the Department of Emergency Management's criteria for being considered to be a responsible bidder, is having an account with SAM that's not deficient.
Like a safety deficiency?
No, it's
It's a-
really, it's probably more of a clerical.
It's more of a clerical thing.
Efficiency.
Every entity, whether you're, even we have to be registered with SAM
Yep.
to be eligible for grant projects through
Yeah.
state resources or federal resources. And so this lowest bidder is not properly registered.
And so the
Okay.
So
concern
they're
is,
Gotcha.
the concern is if that we have an issue, if we were to award to the lowest bidder based on lowest bid, also that we know the contractor, we know it's a good contractor. But if we were to make this award and we run into any problem and that account does not come out of deficiency, it would have to be rebid. And we know from past experiences where rebuilding leads us, and it could be an increase in cost. It's definitely an increase in time, labor for everybody, engineers, grant administration. So it's not the direction we want to go. Although it's a minor speed bump, we're not comfortable at this time making the recommendation to award it to the lowest bidder based on this deficiency. Also, we have to consider that this was part of the requirement to submit a bid. I'm not saying that WW Payton did anything, you know, that they didn't know, or that they
Right.
knew and acted. But if we were to do this, I'm not saying, I'm not sure if we want to put ourselves in a legal compromising position.
Matula and Matula did the last work?
Matula has done street projects for us, has done the station projects for us, water projects for us in the past.
How many change orders have they submitted?
Matula,
How many?
I mean,
Post bid?
I think total, probably 5 over the past 2 projects.
Okay.
So, and that is, another one of the issues I wanted to touch on in the memorandum. I don't want to get lost on it. And I've asked if nobody else does, that if you look at the numbers on the memorandum, just want council to understand that with what this portion of the project came in at and the engineering and grant administration fees, the second portion of the project being the generators, if we were to come in on mark of the cost opinions, we're still going to be over our grant allocation. And it could be call for a resolution in the future to either provide additional funds to finish the project or council make another decision to. That's not required at this time. This is why we broke the project up into 2 parts, to ensure that we wouldn't get caught, that we would see it coming. So we're doing the South Water Plant pump improvements first, the generators next, and I think it'd be worth it to see what the bids come in at for the generators, which should be bid around September, before, we have a serious discussion. But as of now on the table, we're recommending the award go to Matula. Yes, sir.
So has Peyton been informed of the deficiency, and have they responded to, have they been allowed to correct it, or do they have a plan to correct it?
Yes, sir, they do. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time. I think the contract needs to be awarded within 80,
Awarded within 60 days, so then that would be next week. And then we did tell them as soon as we found out that they were delinquent, but unfortunately, that process takes 2 to 6 weeks, and so there just wasn't enough time in case for some reason that they didn't get that registration.
so if we were just, time issues.
Because that's a lot of money.
Yes, sir, I know, I understand, but it's, the only thing I can think of, I probably still from my nightmares, the rebid for the North Water Plant. It's like this takes place again, we could be looking at something worse than that.
That was the one where the paper forgot to put it in?
Yes, sir. And that's just an example of what rebidding can get down to. I say we have all hopes it would be corrected, but we just can't say it for sure at this point in time. And now we're up against the clock. And either way right now as it stands, whether it be W.W. Payton or Matula, we still project to be over the allocation.
So what's the big cost difference? What is it that Matula is charging extra for, or they're anticipating, because that's
Though,
over $60,000, right?
yeah, and I can't, it depends. I can't elaborate on specific line items of their bid. I can say that they were deemed responsible. There was not anything far outside.
So they were both bidding apples to apples?
Yes.
Have we talked about telling Matula that they've got somebody bidding against them that's $60,000 cheaper?
No, they were here during the public bid opening, so they know.
And they didn't make any adjustments?
No. And it's a small grant project. Mike, I won't elaborate on it, but there's a lot of red tape with these projects. A lot of times contractors aren't eager to get into them until they're over $1.5 million, just because of the extra labor that goes into navigating the whole project through the grant requirements. So.
Yeah, this difference is still 10% of the project.
Yes, sir. Well, the options we have, council can choose to award to W.W. Payton and take the chance there. We can award to Matula Construction, or council can motion to have the project rebid. But that would be,
I had a question on, it says the TDEM guidelines, contractors submitting bids must have an active account with SAM. Do we not check that before we even accept the RFP? I mean, when we intake RFPs and bids, is that not one of the items that we look at so we can prevent any future occurrences of this? Or?
We don't vet them before. That's after we receive the bids, because a lot of times on CivCast, what you get is you get a list of contractors that have either viewed or downloaded copies of the specifications, but that's not representative of the number who are going to submit bids. So they'd be shooting in the dark.
But is there any way that we can vet before we even proceed to bring up a potential awardee?
I think that was part of the problem on this is when you look at the registry, they showed up. But
You have to go in and recertify.
they have to go,
manually.
they didn't
Like I just
do
went
it,
and
but
looked at ours, I was
they
gonna
actually
pull it
show
up.
in the registry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this would be a grant admin. They're the ones that kind of noted it. It's not engineering. It would be grant admin.
And they don't do that until after the bid opening, because you can't open the bid and look at it to see anything until
Correct.
the date of your opening. So we couldn't even have let Matula know that they had an underbid, because it's illegal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just, you can't look at it until it's open, and then you contact them and try to do what you can do. But they know when they're bidding on these government grant jobs, they need to be active in some.
Yeah.
It's a
Or
very
submit your
basics.
certificate with expiration date on it, so
Yeah.
we kind of know beforehand.
And so we're assuming, working with WW Payton, we're assuming they're, for every
I mean,
reason,
yeah, it's a
they
pretty
thought
large-
they were kosher.
Yeah.
But when Grant Works got a hold of it, they said you could get clawback in the future from the Texas Department of Emergency Management.
Yeah, for awarding something. Yeah. And in the past, we've disqualified, I forgot what it was for, just because of a simple calculation error.
Yes,
Where I remember, that was, one of their calculations was off and it put them in the millions. And that was their final bid. They couldn't go back and change it, and we,
Yeah.
Can anything be done to change the scope of work to allow for
Jeremy, I would say no. It's pretty bare bones. I mean, this is something that has to be done, whether we get it paid for through grant funds, or it's in pretty bad shape. And we bypassed every option to upgrade parts of that plant. There's no variable frequency drives. There's no no climate control. It's nothing like the North Water Plant. It is bare bones, demo, replace. You know, get
And I'd have to go back and look to make sure, but I think on these guidelines for this, it's plus 25 or minus 25% of project scope. So we can't go down less than 25 and we can't go over more than 25. So it's very limited.
Contract, yes,
Yeah.
sir. That's correct.
And this is the plant that's down there at Timber Creek, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the South Fork.
That's correct.
Does anyone wish to make a motion?
Yeah, I just feel, like you hit the nail on the head where we can be penalized for any future stuff by the state by awarding something that to somebody that's not qualified. I mean, even though they're probably in the process of getting it qualified, but at this moment in time, they're not.
Correct.
And, obviously we're looking at the best interest of our taxpayers' money, but we don't want to put ourselves in a corner for any future type grants that we could lose out on.
Correct.
And, shame on that company for not having that oversight to catch that
Yeah.
beforehand. That sucks, but at least we have a second bid.
Is that a motion?
Sure. Let me find the verbiage here. Oh, down here?
Oh, right here, right here.
Yep. I make a motion to award the construction contract 1-2023 ARPA South Water Plant improvements to Matula and Matula. You want me to put the amount as well?
No, sir, because it's set here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The motion carries. Okay. Discussion and action item B. Thank you, Cliff. Discussion regarding equipment replacement schedule, and I guess that's Cliff again.
Yes, sir. So if I heard it correct, last time I was here, we were talking, of course, we asked for a lot of money for equipment. And we, council requested, basically to see, depreciation schedules compared to possibly an equipment replacement plan. We've got a spreadsheet, Kirsten, I don't know if you can pull that up.
Give me just one.
And I guess right off the bat, I want to make known, my opinion. It's hard to do an equipment replacement schedule when you're not talking about funding. But I want to be careful not to get into a whole lot of funding tonight, because this type of thing is really a budgetary issue and not a single payment issue. It's something that's going to take place over years' time.
But it's a good tool to use for budgeting.
Yes, sir. And we intend.
That was the intent, I believe.
Yes, sir. We
That was
intend
my
to-
intent, I
yes.
believe.
And
We will discuss it at
Monday.
more length
Next Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it to Trish. I said, Trish, help. Right in the middle of budget, help me.
Thanks.
And we're depreciating these on a 7-year rotation?
And they vary.
Okay.
The vehicles are on a 5-year
Some
schedule.
equipment is 15 to 20. It's to IRS guidelines. But IRS depreciation schedules
Kirsten, what do you got
don't
going on
mean
there?
that's when it has to be replaced.
Yeah.
What do you have going on there?
Especially if it's
What
stolen.
do you mean?
There should be an Excel spreadsheet for the equipment replacement schedule.
This? I mean, this is the bid. It puts it in Adobe. I don't open up individual files. You want that individual file opened? It converts everything to a PDF. This is the packet.
Yeah.
And we can go over it next week also.
I don't have the individual topic. Hold on. I have to go to a different.
Okay.
You upload that straight into Community Code. I don't get that. Let's see if I can get it.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's just something, my intent was it's something good to have, used for budgeting purposes. And it shouldn't be something that, you do once and it's
Right.
static, you constantly update it, you get your new vehicles, you add stuff in there, and it's a budgeting tool.
Yeah, and so
I'm glad-
regarding that, Mike, we did go through, we pulled, I tried to pull original purchase price for equipment that we have, set it over an increase by 3% annually through its expected life. And also vehicles as well. We did the same thing, noting what year that we're in reference to that schedule. But I think with, right now, currently our funding, we have $20,000 annually put away for vehicles, $4,000 for equipment. Now, it's going to be the mowers, equipment, and vehicles.
Can we just tab through each one?
Yeah. Is there any way to zoom out on that?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
So-
You can slide over.
I mean, I can zoom.
Hold
It's
your
gonna make it
control.
harder to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can, you're gonna,
And just kind of showing you guys where, what year they were purchased at what price, 3% increase over the expected life. And these right here, these highlighted areas are the expected life of the equipment. So it shows you our current year, when the depreciation schedule runs out. Now, the depreciation schedule does not necessarily mean that it's time to replace the vehicle. But it might be a good guide for planning, for financial planning. And utilizing that, I guess I want to make comments that equipment is hard. I know Mr. Challenger had talked about cooperatives and stuff like that. Currently, we don't have any options such as that. Also, with the cooperative, you would have to provide every piece of equipment that an individual city would need. But vehicles are another topic of discussion. There are programs out there that can lessen the financial burden of the city of Richwood, which is kind of a turnover program. Essentially, I think Eric's brought it to you guys in the past. Essentially what it is, it's a program that takes a vehicle used and it sells it at the peak of its resale value. And then the city and the entity that manages that program shares in the profits, and your money goes back into your equipment replacement. There might be some funding, but I think the program is designed to either minimize the funding or to get to the point one day where it funds itself for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways to lessen the financial burden on the city when it comes to especially vehicles.
Are all vehicles on a maintenance program? Like, do we have it in-house or do they go out to do stuff?
It goes out.
It goes out?
Yeah.
But is there a rotation on it or something? Or you all keep track of all that to say?
Like preventative maintenance?
Yeah, and all that. To extend the life of a vehicle.
Yeah, we keep track of our own. I'm sure PD does too, but we keep track.
But it goes out and all that?
Yes.
So like Cliff was talking about when I first got here, I brought this to council. I won't say the name of the company, but it's a large rental car company. And this is what they figured out is they buy these vehicles in bulk. They're buying $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 or 80,000 cars a year. And they get with cities and they say, hey, you need 2 Ford F-250s, you need this or that. He needs police cars. And they sell them to us at buy board or state bid price. We drive them until they determine when peak market value is for a used vehicle. They sell it. They handle all of it. They handle the licensing, the registration, they handle everything, and they even have maintenance schedules for them. And then at peak value, they pull them off the market. They come down, you load them on a trailer, they're gone, and you get a percentage of that profit. And you don't do any analytics. They know when the market is prime, and they're selling with their market, with the rental car fleet. So there are several cities around us that do it, but
And you get a brand new vehicle of
yeah.
equal type or same. It's not a lease program. You actually turn money off of it. So it's not like a lease program, it's a little bit different. But it's probably one of the only tools when we get into equipment and vehicle replacement that we have at our disposal that will lessen some of that financial burden over time. It's still, even the way that this sits now, it would still require probably a substantial financial commitment to get started in something like that. But if we were going to fund this any further than what we currently are now, I think you're looking at that anyway.
Do we have time for you to prepare something for us to look at the budget workshop for that
I'm
program?
working on that now.
Yeah, it took us, the last time we presented, it took about 3 months.
Okay.
I mean, we can get the meat and bones, but
So in this
Yeah,
this
just like
topic,
a
yeah.
high level overview.
Amanda, this topic right here, replacement, I don't think that FY '24 is going to be the year that we really bring it to you full force. I think the budgeting for FY '25 is more appropriate. Now that we're kind of getting our head wrapped around it, Tricia's really getting off into our financial position, what we're charging for what, and we're really dialing in on the budget, really detailed. And I think in the upcoming budget for '25 is going to be a marquee year for things like this.
And this was one of the things that I've been telling them, we need to get this done. So I appreciate Mike kind of giving us that nudge. And we'll touch on it next week. This is more, for your education. But no, not to give away the surprise of the budget, but, 'cause I know you won't. But this will not be the year to start stocking away money into the replacement fund. 3 years ago, we started. There
Okay.
wasn't much before that at all ever done. We started knowing it was inadequate, but at least it was better than nothing. And going forward, we'll be looking at it, but this will not be the year.
I do have a question, if you don't
Yes.
mind. So is this a complete list of all of our equipment?
Public Works,
Public Works?
yes, sir. Vehicles, equipment, motors, yes.
Yeah. Good to know. Thank you.
Cliff, out of sheer curiosity on the mowers, the John Deere's, is there a reason they bought? Is there a difference between the brands and stuff? Because like John Deere's great and all, but you pay a lot for that name.
You do pay a lot for the name. You pay equally as much for Kubota.
Yeah.
What we tend to look at as far as mowers, it's really pretty simple. It's not necessarily a name; it's ease of maintenance.
Okay.
So a lot of the other mower companies are sealed hubs where you can't grease them; they just go out. You can't maintenance them. Sometimes the deck quality, we need commercial, we need heavy-duty
Right.
decks. John Deere can satisfy that, as well as other companies. But that's probably one of the more economical lines. Still runs a fairly decent Kawasaki engine, and we have a good track record with them, and that's why we go with them.
Just curious.
Yeah, but it does have a deficiency. We've been some lift rods, getting a little bit too aggressive with tall grass.
Yeah.
But for the most part, for the money, I think it's probably the most bang for the buck.
I do appreciate you putting that into a nice sheet for us. Maybe I can get access to that Excel, play around with it in my free time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all my free time.
Just want to show council on methodology and just kind of see what we're going with, trying to achieve. And like I said, the depreciation schedules are not the concrete replacement times, but it's probably a good point to start, or a good goal to aim for when we're talking funding.
So the only other equipment would be in the police, basically? This is all of the equipment except for...
This is all of Public Works. It excludes anything fire department.
Okay.
PD has their own funding source for a lot of their equipment replacement needs, being the CCPD. So when you talk equipment funding, you're really pointing more at me than anybody.
Take all the shots, don't you?
Yeah, it's just kind of the way it is. Yeah, I don't.
It's a big responsibility, obviously, so
Yes, sir.
definitely want to help you out with it.
Thank you.
Do you have any schedule for your equipment, like the new stuff coming in? When its
Yes.
optimal life is?
Yeah, it's
On
included
what you
here,
wanna
and
get
it's
rid of?
based on the IRS depreciation.
It's not like the rental car company that we were just discussing?
No, there's not really much out there like that. That's
Yeah,
what
I've
Mr. Challenger
seen
was
that.
touching on, maybe an alternate plan like a cooperative, and there's not really anything out there like that right now. I don't know of any program that does equipment replacement like that.
Just IRS stuff that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's just how we can plan it out for how long it's going to last.
Well, I just want to clarify, cooperative wasn't necessarily what I'm talking about. That would be kind of difficult, and I'm sure in a bind, someone would help us out with a sucker truck if we needed it or something like that.
Sure.
But it's just other options. And I'm thinking that it would be a good idea for other cities who have the same problem to get together and just put their minds together and see if we can come up with a better solution to what we're all dealing with, which is a lot of money and equipment and stuff like that. So I don't want to get off track that I'm wanting to go beg and borrow from everybody on every occasion. I'm looking for more of a
Cooperative?
but not in that way. Yeah, it's us putting our heads together and figuring something out that'll mutually benefit all of us.
Sure.
Because it seems like it's a big enough problem to talk about. So it doesn't. I always say it doesn't hurt to have a conversation.
Sure.
So see what other options are out there. Just to clarify that.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Cliff. Okay, moving on to C. Discuss and consider approving Resolution 23-R-77, declaring property salvage or surplus and authorizing disposal or sale of specified items.
Okay, so part of that conversation also, we mentioned in passing by Councilman Johnson, is noting not just equipment replacement schedule, but also if there is surplus equipment that we had that we could get rid of. And we've been working on it some of the year. We do have some. Do have it included here for you on the memorandum. So I reached out. Generally, sale of equipment with the municipal corporation might be done via auction. I reached out to a couple of, recommended areas. One recommended by Eric and who Chief used for the vehicle replacement. We have a hodgepodge of different equipment, and I got no interest, no response. Let me say that, no response off of repeated attempts to try to get somebody to deal with a 230 volt single phase generator and a mowing deck, and it was so what we're I think a public sale, especially with these type items in this area, could be very beneficial. I think they're very practical items. I think it'd be an opportunity to sell it locally. I think we would get good bids on it. So before Public Works starts trying to load all this stuff up and hot shotting it to the north side of Houston or Huntsville or whatever auction house we have to go to, I'd like to try to give this a shot. Public sale. I've vetted it through Philip already. We don't see any conflict at this time. I think our requirements are, as long as we advertise to the public, we do have to host an open bid opening publicly. And as of right now, on the spreadsheet, so I don't know if that was provided, Kirsten?
Everything you gave me.
Because I
Or put
don't
in
know
there.
if I, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, that's
Yeah.
spreadsheet. So basically, I included this document as well of all equipment that's listed here in the same order that's listed in the memorandum. What we did for fair market values is we basically hit the internet trying to find the same or similar equipment of similar miles, condition, and developed a value that we thought was fair. And that's what we'll be asking for the equipment. I would just also recommend that if we do it, we don't set a minimum. Sometimes when we set minimums, if we're trying to stick to that price, I understand, stick to that cost. Minimums sometimes get ambitious, 25, at least 24, you know, and I'm not saying it's not fair, I'm just saying it's surplus equipment. It has served its purpose. It is still good. It is still good for somebody else. If we can get rid of it and I think make a little bit of money to put back into the replacement fund, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
So are you recommending not to have a minimum?
I'm recommending not to have a minimum. This kind of happened to us on the sale of 215 Halbert, where somebody saw it and said, it's not enough.
I mean, I hate to sell something for $5 when we can take it down to commercial metals and get $100 in scrap metal for it. I mean,
I totally understand. If that were to be the case, if there would be a minimum set, I'd rather it be a percentage. 25%, 40%, whatever that might be.
Well, it's not going anywhere. It's obviously been here a while. We could try to sell it for an asking price, and then if it doesn't sell, go to the next. I mean, I'm not an eBay expert of selling stuff, but
have we looked at GovPlanet, which is Ritchie Brothers'? I mean, because I've bought a lot of stuff off GovPlanet. And
yeah, it's just the.
And you don't have to take it anywhere. You take the pictures here, and the buyer has to pick it up from your location versus sending it up to Ritchie Brothers.
We looked at Gov Deals. I reached out to. I just got no response.
GovPlanet is the Ritchie Brothers
Okay.
subsidiary.
Okay.
Let us do that and then bring this back if
Yeah.
need be.
Yeah,
That's all right with council.
We can check it out. It's another option.
I'm not in favor of, it needs to have some sort of bottom end limit, because like you say, you could have a sealed bid and have one come in for $5, and you hear about that stuff like that happening. I don't think we should be part of that.
I can agree. I just
Yeah, we at least do some type of percentage, 20% of minimum.
Or even what the salvage value is. I mean, at
Yeah.
least at
Right.
a minimum that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Well, the resolution, would the resolution not then deem the items surplus and then you can still use that method to sell? Do we still need this equipment deemed surplus? Yes.
I think,
I think so.
it is surplus. We already
Right.
bought the replacements.
Do we
Yeah.
still,
But
so the resolution's still valid?
So
He just doesn't have to, he can
so the resolution-
investigate other ways to sell.
Right, so the resolution would be, so when I researched this, we need to have council approve that this property is in fact surplus property before we can take the next step, which is to dispose of it or sell it.
By any means.
Right, the resolution
Right, by
doesn't
any
say
means,
he's gonna sell it
right,
this
okay.
manner.
Right,
I'm saying that's why we could still move forward with this resolution and not table it.
correct.
And then look further into avenues of sale.
Correct.
So, and if that be the case, if council were to have any questions on any particular piece of equipment, I know you see a big dump truck in there, and it actually runs good, things like that. We have reasons why we want to deem it surplus and move it out of our inventory. So if y'all have any questions on any of the pieces of equipment, I'll be happy to answer.
Deeming it surplus. Well, it's not to sell, it's just deeming it
is the
surplus.
mosquito fogger, is that the one that you just replaced? Have we gotten it yet? There was something about a mosquito fogger in there?
No, we have not gotten it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't technically be surplus until we actually get the replacement, would it?
The definitions of surplus are here, so it's just whether or not we're still able to use it.
Oh, I see.
So I put in
Yeah, but-
salvage and surplus
That's a
definitions by government
technicality,
code.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why are we getting rid of a $36,000 dump truck?
Well, even though it's not it's not big enough for the commercial driver's license rating or what have you. To be honest, I only have a couple people that still know how to drive standard. And
How
you
much pay? I'll come
also,
drive. I'll drive.
you also,
I need a part-time job.
it's a, I
They
believe
fall on the floor.
that's a 6 cubic yard. It is a little bit of a different animal when you're hauling that much material at that weight. But we also used it primarily in road reconstruction. Most of the loads that we carry these days and what we hopefully foresee for the future are going to be more material replacement for smaller areas and in parks or for taps or anything that we're doing like that, and even for streets. But the one we're getting,
Shoot, I think you get more than 25 for it. It's a 2005, right?
it's 2005.
It's only 25,000 miles. I don't know.
But it's
That's a
gonna,
nice picture of that truck. Here,
My
go look
California
at it.
bike.
it's still a good piece of equipment, but just we use it so seldom, and it's gonna go.
It's an old picture.
It's gonna go eventually, just by sitting there.
I mean, council, I don't like having personally, I don't like having equipment that we're not using. You know, you gotta maintain it, and
Correct.
when you finally go out to use it, it doesn't work.
And it's
To
not,
be efficient, we need to have equipment that we're using.
it's not that we haven't gotten great use out of it. We have. It's just, we're in a little bit different place right now, and that money can definitely be put back into equipment replacement to serve for something better. That's used more.
Something that you're using.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 23R77, declaring this property as per the memorandum salvage or surplus, and authorize the disposal or sale of the specified items in the way of sale to be brought to council next meeting.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll clean up that yard.
Okay, discussion and action item D, discuss and consider awarding bid number 23-003P for debris management and removal services.
So we went out for bid for debris removal, basically heavy trash pickup for storms. We received 6 bids. I'm sure you all looked over all 560 pages of bids as we did on Thursday. I entered our scores. I'm going to post staff grading here. Oh, too far. Sorry, y'all. That way you can see the highest scored bid, but you still have the option to choose whichever y'all deem fit.
Was that in the minutes? I didn't see that page before.
I couldn't find it either.
The packet?
No, the
bid tab
scoring
that you just showed?
sheet.
It should have been. Let me
And
look.
I was
Is it at
also
the very
going
end?
to say,
It should have been at the
I
beginning.
think it is.
just,
Let me look.
it's an exceptionally long bid package, and I know you are well within the guidelines of when you're supposed to post it, but I myself would appreciate a little more time to digest the bids if we're not under the gun.
We're only under the gun of hurricane season. That's it, the only reason that this is.
But this is for next year, right?
No, it would go into effect.
So what is the one that we just,
Right here.
That's for debris monitoring. So they just
Okay.
monitor the people that remove. Let me pull up
For
this.
FEMA to reimburse us, we have to have monitoring
And
of the
removal.
debris removal.
It can't be the same contract. Somebody
Okay,
has
that
to pick it up,
should be.
somebody has to-
so is there a
Basically,
plan for next year to do this earlier?
This should be a multi-year contract.
It'll be a 2-year one, and yes.
But moving
This
forward,
was just awarded, yeah. So
like
this is in the
before
packet.
hurricane
This is the
season
one that
begins?
Actually doesn't pick
Okay.
up, it's not.
This is who actually does pick up.
Monitor, yeah.
What's that?
Let me do it this way.
It's for the workers, not the supervisor.
I didn't see a bid tab in here. I
It's-
just saw
it-
the-
The score
It's
sheet?
there.
Page
'Cause I see it on the website.
Yeah, 54 of 580.
Oh, so it's before the bids?
It should be before the bids.
Okay. I was looking after.
Yeah, it should be the very first sheet before you get into bids.
So basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, the insurance company that we awarded would be paying for this? No?
No, so this, what we awarded last
I mean,
month was just for monitoring, so they are just going to watch what the trash people pick up, make sure every tonnage is accounted for, that we're being billed for, because we are then gonna submit our receipts to FEMA to reimburse.
Okay.
So the monitoring is ensuring that we're not getting overcharged.
We do not have insurance, Mike, for this. This is,
It'll be all out of pocket.
this is kind of a component. What happens when the debris hits the ground, we have to have access to the city. We immediately start cleanup. What we hope in that process is that we meet the threshold for federal reimbursement, but a majority of this money at the very beginning comes out of our pocket.
In our last storm, we did not, it wasn't
And
widespread
then,
enough.
so to be FEMA eligible, you have to have, your trash trucks have to be certified, the type of debris has to be separated. That's your debris monitoring people, monitor those people. And then all this does is this debris cleanup people, based on the bid specs that we have up here, these are companies that can come in and most efficiently move large amounts of debris out of the city quickly.
okay. Do we
That's
have a
what- that's what
history
it
with any
buys
of
us.
these companies from the last time that?
The highest, actually two of them. So Sirius and DRC, we awarded, again, this is pre-administration, so I'm not sure the mindset there, but we awarded a primary contract to Sirius, and then DRC had the secondary contract. So I don't know what triggered at that point of primary or secondary.
I think it's just redundancy.
Yeah,
I don't think.
just
it's
not
any
sure.
special requirement.
So we've actually activated Sirius before, and we had good.
Great
good
service.
Yeah,
service.
good job, Margaret.
Yeah.
And the last time we had them come, was it Laura?
It was the most recent.
It was,
Yeah.
but I don't think we got
Or was
FEMA
it
funding
the,
for
we
it.
did not, we did not get reimbursed.
So a lot of this is if it's not
So the
declared a
price-
disaster, then it,
It depends
city
on
paid,
how
but
widespread it is.
So-
Yeah.
it's a lot of money.
So the pricing is also an issue, and you know, as you go through these, you want one, you don't necessarily want to go with the cheapest, but you need to be conscious of the funding as
So we
well,
may not get
because
paid back.
That last one, we spent almost $300,000 out of city money.
And with Harvey, it was years, we were still getting reimbursed, years later, years.
So C-Res who did it after Harvey?
No, so that one, we did not have
was that
a
winter
contract
storm
in
we had?
place, and so
Edward?
the county did it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of cities down here did not have the county, we did a county interlocal with that. They did the
Yeah,
Harvey
for
pickup.
For the spot where we dumped, I'm trying to remember the storms, when y'all left us, sleeping.
It was the, yeah, it
Gaston or something like that, Hurricane,
Yeah.
I forget.
was Laura, wasn't it?
Was it
I think it was Laura.
It was the one
We
that,
teased Laura.
it bobbed when we weaved and it didn't come. But Harvey, it was the county who did all that. We
We got a
didn't,
skid steer and a dump truck.
we did not have an agreement then.
Yeah.
After Harvey is when we
They can
first
do a lot.
went out for bid for this and got them on the line.
I wasn't satisfied with those people because they tore up a lot of curbs
I
and
think that was county work.
dug trail. The crew was from Louisiana. They might
Yeah,
have
I
been
think,
hired
but
through the county.
we did it through the interlocal with them, who did like a county-wide cleanup.
Yeah.
thank goodness.
This company was after, we first went out to bid for this in 2018.
He's at staff's recommendation to go to C-Res.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric,
I'm sorry.
is it staff's recommendation to go with C-Res?
That's correct, sir.
Does anyone wish to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to award bid 23-003P for debris management and removal service to go to staff's recommendation of C-Res. Am I saying that right,
I
C-Res?
have no idea how to say it. I say it different every time.
I'll second.
Second.
We want to be New Orleans.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Discussion and action, item E. Discuss and consider amending the city's policy and procedures manual, policy number 1105, use of city vehicles. That's
Public comment.
Mayor, council, at the request of council, bring this agenda item before you for the amending of policy number 1105, take-home vehicles. Basically, the only things that have changed is in subsection 5, A, B, C, and D. Only vehicles approved by the city manager or department head will be allowed to be taken home. Moderate personal use will be allowed, provided this use is within the greater Brazosport area. All personal miles will be tracked using a monthly mileage report to the city manager, department head, and finance director. Civilian riders or passengers will only be allowed in unmarked police vehicles. No civilian riders or passengers will be allowed in marked vehicles unless providing a courtesy transport or motorist assist as part of regular duty to assist the public. And D, take-home vehicle privileges may be removed at any time without appeal. That's kind of combining a little bit of what everybody said last time.
I like it. So I assume that at the top of the header where it says revised March 2015, that'll be updated?
Yes, that will be updated.
I do that part when y'all adopt it. I'll do it, yeah.
Did insurance say anything as far as?
Yeah, that's a good point. Insurance said there would be no, because we do so few, they said there would be no impact.
We have a public comment from Miss Leslie Klug. Lou, sorry about that.
Okay. Just want to make sure that your new policy doesn't exclude a couple of things. I want to make sure that kids are still going to be able to play in the fire trucks and the police vehicles. And that, let's say somebody wanted to start a neighborhood watch and wanted to know things to look for, things like that. Can the chief take them on a ride along kind of thing so that they can learn a few things about that kind of thing? I know that in the past his ride-alongs were really popular and seemed to really build a lot of community with, you know, especially in anytime that there was like people that, you know, diss the police or whatever. I think having that as an option is a great idea because then they get to see, you know, that the police aren't always just out to cause problems. But looking at it, I'm not sure that, especially letter number 3, which you said didn't even change, but it looks like number 3 would have excluded especially the kids all along because it talks about riders and it talks about just occupants. And I'm not sure where they fall in 5 at all. So
The
those are just
fire department vehicles will not be covered by this policy anyway, is that correct?
Well, like the fire truck, you mean?
I just mean the kids need to be able to play in these.
Well, I don't think
things
this
and-
limits the use of a vehicle that is in its use when it's taken home.
Take home vehicle.
So the 3 still allows us no riders or occupants are permitted except those authorized by employee department head. No rider authorized by any department head except if the rider or occupant is in the furtherance of performance of city business. So if we're doing touch a truck, that's in furtherance of city business.
Okay.
Or if it's take it to OLQP for whatever you want to do with it, or to visit with the kids, or to, it's still, I don't think it limits that, and it still gives Eric the
When Crystal turned
authority to
7, she
approve
got
it.
to come up and sit in the police car out here. That's not police business, though.
I mean, it's outreach, community
That was-
outreach. I would say
Okay.
that's still city
Okay,
business to
just
do
making sure
community
that
outreach.
it doesn't exclude some of those things, because I feel like those are really important for,
I don't think this changes like the on-duty use of a vehicle as we use it anyways at all. This is just changing what
but
it
it
can be
does
done.
eliminate ride-alongs with the police.
It just says it can be approved by employees department head, so Eric could still approve the chief to have no riders except those authorized by the department head.
Okay, because you could do a waiver. You could have council.
Yeah, I
write
mean,
a
doesn't Part
waiver.
5C state, I mean, no civilian riders, passengers will be allowed in marked police units unless providing a courtesy transport or motor assist as part of regular duty to assist the public. And, I mean, a ride-along would be assisting the public, like for a neighborhood watch.
And this is
So
just
Section
regarding the
5C
take-home
would kind
vehicle,
of-
so it's not,
Well, it
Yeah.
says it says courtesy transport or motorist assist.
but this is regarding a take-home, it's on 5, which is the take-home
Take-home.
vehicle.
So
So
the
it's not a
idea-
marked, like a on-duty marked unit, that's when they would.
That's
do
on
it.
duty, yeah.
That's on, it's a transport.
The main scope of this, I think, is really to.
It would go to
for
PD
off-
policy at that
If you're
point.
off-duty, you can't
Okay.
do anything.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that, those are important to me, I just want
Right.
to go on record as saying that if you're doing anything that's going to cancel any of those out, I just want to go on record as saying that I disagree, though. I think that's a bad idea, because
Yeah, anything
I
under
think those
5 would
are
have to do with
really
once
important
they
to the
leave
public,
work.
especially to the kids. They need to be able to,
No, I don't think
they
that's
need to be able to
what
do those things. It's real important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the city's policy? Anyone wish to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to amend the city's policy and procedure manual, policy number 1105, use of city vehicles per the city manager's draft.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay.
I appreciate it, thank you.
We don't know anything, so.
Yeah, no, skip it.
Capital improvements project update. I believe that would be Mr. Cliff again.
So I did receive word on the reconstruction of the remainder of Oakwood Shores roads. Hadn't reported on the past, I'm sorry, but there was nothing to report. I talked to Brandon Garcia of Precinct 1, and they're anticipating being back out the subdivision around the 1st of August to get that completed. On the North Water Plant,
I'm sorry, they can still do that in the heat? I know some of that asphalt you can't do when it's.
no, they prefer, it's
it's
okay.
easier to mill.
It's, yeah, they prefer to do it in the summertime, not spring or fall, to get away from the rains. Usually when it does rain in the summer, it dries up fast. But yeah, it might delay the rolling of the asphalt a little bit. You need to get to a certain temperature before you do roll it, but no, they prefer to do it in the summer. North Water Plant, well contractor is working on providing outstanding records to engineer for final completion. Morgan, is that the bacteriological samples? Okay. Ground storage contractor will disinfect the tank and and reach final completion after the well contractor. The generator is delivered. It is hooked up in place. It's got a quarter tank of fuel. It's ready to go. We do also have chemicals on site, being chlorine and polyphosphate. The fence slats have not been ordered yet. They will be ordered and installed. But everything as of right now is set ready for the plant startup. We're just waiting on a few things. Hopefully we'll make our date by August 1st. That's what we're shooting for. The ARPA, of course, we awarded tonight. Contracts will be sent out to the awarded contractor this week. The second portion being the generators. The anticipated bid date is going to be in September. Engineers stating they have 60% of the design complete, and plan to meet with me a little bit later this month to go over that. The mid-mod grant, the streets drainage for Briar Creek's 4 Oaks Grow Run. Of course, we all know the project was approved by GLO. We're currently waiting on the final notice to proceed before we get into design and anything else. So after that, I think that's all I got.
Hey Cliff, on those generators, how much storage of fuel do we have when, like, say a storm's impending or something like that? Obviously you fill up the generators in case you lose power.
So,
Do we have a separate storage for fuel?
yes, we will. You guys approved it with the equipment.
That was a 500
Yes,
gallon.
yes, 500 gallon we'll have on site, but these particular generators will be natural gas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have a steady supply of fuel.
All right.
Is natural gas at the North Water Plant as well? Because I know there's no natural gas.
No, that's a
up there.
diesel
That's a
generator.
diesel, okay.
Yeah, the ones in the Arbor project are gonna be well number 5 in the service center.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
How's your arm doing, by the way?
It's getting there. Therapy's doing it right. It's getting there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have city manager's report.
Mayor, council, pretty much everything the same as on Friday's update, except for the gazebo, which I think they've got just about repaired. Other than that, nothing new.
Councilmember Johnson, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Councilmember Challenger?
Oh, wait a minute. This is the first meeting since All-American Night, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Y'all did a great job. That was great. Yeah, I think that we had a good crowd turn out for that. Appreciate it.
That's good. Councilmember Challenger?
I like the path we're on. I think we're gonna get some good stuff accomplished. You know, I think that we've had a little bit of, or possibly we could talk a little bit about the greater areas needed, trucks. You know, we've got a new port going in and some port improvements, and business is like a vacuum. There's gonna be that missing gap there at some point, and if we want it, I think that's something we could have. So I'd like to keep that conversation going.
Thank you. Councilmember Amanda?
I'm good.
Good. Mr. Escalante?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of make one observation and comment, and maybe we can discussion later on how we can maybe help improve. We've obviously spent a lot of money on equipment, and we're investing a lot for our infrastructure and our needs and equipment. But one common theme that I see that's lacking is dedicated fleet maintenance. And you know, I'm a retired military maintenance officer, so maintenance has always been my thing. And going like Public Works, the generators, trailers, we're buying all this new equipment, ensuring that they're being serviced, you know, adequately, properly, on time. Even like the PD, for example, I know we've had some ticket writers. I remember we had auto defibrillators that the batteries were expired. We didn't even know about that because they weren't on a maintenance schedule until, you know, heaven forbid, if we ever had to use them, they weren't going to work anyways. And we had a resident that paid for the replacement of the batteries, and as well as our fire department, tanks, pumps, hoses, you know, all of those have a shelf life. And if they're not tracked on a good fleet maintenance software, you lose that institutional knowledge. If that chief leaves, or if that person that handled that pump that used to service it, all that institutional knowledge is lost. And with all the new equipment that we're buying, all of this stuff has, you know, the Internet of Things, sensors and whatnot, that we could harness that information and keep track in a fleet maintenance database. I would love to explore. There's a million out there, but obviously we want to be as conservative as possible. And obviously it's a task for somebody to input all that information into. Okay, this vehicle is on this many miles. This is the recommended service. Or generators. We're about to replace all these new generators, and we saw in the last storm that we had generators go down, then we had sewer backed up. You know, keeping track of maintenance is pivotal for the investment that we're making. And I feel if we had a good fleet maintenance software that we can keep track of this stuff, we'd be on a really good path. And, you know, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, when we need these things to last past the 7-year depreciation cycle, maybe it'll last 10. Or heaven forbid, if there's a freeze or a hurricane, those generators kick on when need be. But I would love to explore some options, cost-effective options for the city to input, not just vehicles, because that's makes sense, but radios. You know, do our radios and the batteries for the police department and the fire department, are they expired? You know, can they hold a charge in the event of an emergency, and you know they can't be charged quickly? So I think a lot of those things we can explore and keep track of our maintenance in a good, timely manner. That's all.
The AEDs were on a maintenance program, and they still are as of today. The maintenance program did not send the replacement batteries. That was part of that problem. The generators are on a maintenance plan, and they're routinely PM'd as per a schedule.
But what I guess my question is, what triggers those PMs? Like,
Hey, Rory, I have a program.
yeah, I mean, like with
certainly share with
We
you from
cannot
aviation.
discuss.
Okay.
We're turning this into a discussion item.
You know, we're not making a decision on anything, but.
You can't talk about it.
Thank you, Lauren.
Sorry. We'll talk next month.
Councilmember Fountain, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I'd like to add is, with the, I know we missed the TCEQ, the thing, it happens, I know Cliff has a lot on his plate and everything like that, so I would just like to, please make sure we have some reminders from Eric and Kirsten, and if we get those, don't miss those, please, because those are really important. Again, I'm not harping on that, I just wanted to go on the record that we make sure we have some redundancy so we don't miss those reports. And that's all.
Thank you, sir. So a few things that I'd like to bring up. The first and foremost is recognition to Ms. Garcia here.
I've been living the high life for 2 weeks.
She's made leaders 40 under 40. So everybody give her a round of applause for that. Good job. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Second thing is, I keep seeing a few of y'all out and about. Saturday afternoon, the bio's a great place to do recreation and stuff. There was a very bad accident out there, and I ask that everybody that does boat on, do recreation on the bio, please be careful. I hate seeing accidents out there. I take passion in that place, and I like to see everybody have a good time. And lastly, I want to thank everybody that showed up to the 4th of July celebration put on by the city. Thank everybody for their time. I think it was a great turnout as well, and it was good seeing everybody out. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any future agenda items?
You want to do it, or
Rory?
Rory?
17th, we have the budget update workshop.
Okay.
There will be many updates.
6 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'll be out of town vacation next week. Darn.
Don't miss the fun.
You can tune in live.
Me too.
Okay.
And we also will be bringing back the surplus equipment,
Oh, yeah, bring back
Methodology.
approved sale, approved method of sale.
I'd like to add a future agenda item of getting a status sheet for equipment, or pursuing that. I guess I'm calling it a status sheet, thinking some sort of program to remind us of when things are coming due as far as equipment.
Maintenance program?
Yeah, a maintenance program. I'm calling it a status sheet.
Essentially what I was talking about, so we can discuss it
Yeah.
in a legal way.
Okay. Being that there's no other business to discuss, the time is now 7:06, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.